Hello, today we're going to show you how to make the tap plate project. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to take a piece of bare, we call this mild steel, and you're going to be creating a tap plate that's going to look just like this. And so step by step we're going to scribe, we're going to measure, scribe, we're going to center punch, drill, tap, and then finish this tap plate project. So if you bear with me here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of mild steel. There should be stacks of them sitting here. Please only use one. There's only enough for everybody to have one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out a grid, and I'm going to use the ruler here. So our ruler here, we've got our numbers on here. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch. So going crossways, I am going to go ahead and just remember the numbers here. 1.5 inches, okay, 3 inches, and then 4.5 inches. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And I'm going to measure on the bottom. So I got 1.5, 3, and 4.5. And then, so with that being said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go along the side, and I'm going to measure down approximately 3/4 of an inch. Okay, using the ruler here, 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to go another 3/4 of an inch down to 1.5 inches. And to 2.25 inches. So I'm spacing apart top to bottom 3/4 of an inch. Same thing here. I'm going to go over to this side here. I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, and 1.5 inches, and then 2.25 inches. Now I'm going to use this as a straight edge, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this from mark to mark. And if you look here, we have a scribe. I had a scribe. Let me grab a scribe. And a scribe is a pointed object here. This is not a center punch. This is not to be used as a center punch at all. This scribe here is going to be used to make a line, a mark, and scribe metal. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line up my marks from one side to the next, and I'm going to use a scribe and create a nice scribe mark. Okay, and I'm going to use this here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to measure my across, or going to go line up my across, scribe, scribe, and scribe. Now if you look at this real closely, what you can see here is you can see each intersection right here is going to be one of the holes that we have right here on our tap plate right here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a center punch. And I'm going to center punch each one of these intersections right here along the edge here, 9 of them. And what a center punch is a tool here. It's a punch, but it's got a little tiny eyelet on the end. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place it right in the middle of the hole there. And I'm going to use a hammer. Now, people use a hammer, they use it wrong. They'll grab it like this. You don't have any control. You should always grab a hammer by the edge, and it should be lined up with the edge of your palm. That gives you maximum control. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit it there, and I'm going to go ahead and hit it right there. You know, I never miss and hit my hand. So you would do all 9 of these, but I'm going to keep it short for our video here. So the next thing I'm going to do is, if I look here on my sheet here has our metric, our English National Coarse and English National Fine. Let's do this top middle one here because this will be a good one to show you. 8mm by 1.25. I have set up each one of these here, and if I go ahead and I show you here, we've got 8mm by 1.25 pitch, and right here, and it should be a 6.9mm drill bit. So the first thing I want to do is go into this drill bit, or this case here, and I'm going to grab the drill bit. And this drill bit right here should be a 6.9mm reading right on here. You probably can't see it very well, but I can see it here. We need to make sure we use the right size for tapping, because you're going to drill a bolt, or you're going to drill a hole that's slightly under the 8mm tap by 1.25 thread pitch. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to come over to the drill here, and I'm going to chuck this up into the drill. And with this going on here, I want to chuck this up the size, and I want to bring it up to right about the edge of the knurling here on this right on here, the edge of the knurling. And where this knurling ends right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up, just chuck the edge of the right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten this by hand, and then I take a chuck right here, and this chuck here is going to go in, and there are 3 holes in here. And what I want to make sure I do is I want to make sure I tighten this down on all 3 holes. So I'm going to tighten it there, and I'm going to tighten it here. The reason I do all 3 holes is because there's 3 jaws in there, and I want to make sure that I get it on all 3 jaws. Now next, I'm going to take my blank, and I want to put it into this holder right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten this down right here onto this holder. And I want to make sure I clamp it in real good and tight. This holder will keep it from spinning around and around and around. And if that happens, it could be a very dangerous situation. Now, this is going to be my middle hole, my 8 point by 1.25. So I'm going to go ahead and drill this. And this center punch that I did on here should let the drill bit follow through right on here. Just like that. Okay, now the secret to drilling is to use oil. Oil or cutting lubricant, anything along that line there. If you're using any kind of oil will work. Okay, so it's really important to make sure you're oiling while you're doing this, because if you don't, you'll kill the bit, you'll burn the bit, and it's just not going to drill very well. So I'm going to use a little of this cutting lubricant. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this on right here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this down, and as I get close, I'm going to make sure I line everything up real good. And as it gets close, I'm going to put a moderate amount of pressure down on this. Okay, once I get a little hole drilled, I'm going to back it off a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more lubricant, a little bit more oil or lubricant or cutting oil in there, just because I want to keep it lubricated. You wouldn't believe it, but a drill bit actually cuts much better when it's lubricated. So if you look here, I'm cutting a nice hole, and I want a nice steady. There we go. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe this off. You wouldn't want to use your finger, but I forgot to grab a rag here. So for demonstration purposes here, I'm sure I'll get a sliver out of this. So, all right. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to come back. I am going to take my drill bit back out because I want to put it back for the next guy. This is a very important part of this exercise. If we don't put the drill bits back where they're supposed to go, the next guy is going to have a real hard time trying to do his project. So So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the vise, open the jaws of the vise up, all right, and I'm going to grab the 8mm by 1.25 pitch tap. This is a tap. This is a open end. This is an open end tap. It has a starting flank on it. So make sure that it's an 8mm by 1.25 thread pitch. It's written right on there. Now we're going to grab it with this, and this here loosens up and comes together. So, but you want to make sure you grab it on the square part. If you grab it on the round part, it will slip. These are very, very hard taps. They don't mar very much. And the thing with this is slow and steady, because what happens is you try to push too hard and you're going to break the tap. And if you ever break a tap when you're trying to clean something out, you'll find out that it doesn't drill. So it won't drill. It's almost impossible to get out. So I'm going to put a moderate amount of pressure pushing down here very carefully, keeping it straight. I want to get a nice bite on it to start with. And once it starts to bite, I will go about a half a turn and back it off just a little bit. Then I'll go another half a turn and back it off a little bit. Same thing all the way through till I get all the way through. Now, if this wasn't going all the way through, it'd be a blind hole. So like in an engine block or something like that. You want to make sure then that you're going to clean everything out when you're done. So we're going ahead, doing this. All right. So now I've broken through, and I want it to spin nice and free. Should spin free with one finger, and I'll back it all the way out. All right. Once again, I'm going to take the tap. I'm going to clean it off a little bit, and I'm going to put it away because that's the most important thing you can do. We get done with this, and if you can see down in there real nicely, I've got nice threads right down inside there. So that I would be able to screw an 8 by 1.25 bolt in there. I'd be able to screw that in there real nice. So a couple things I got left to do now. We're going to use the stamps, and I want you to stamp in all of the letters and numbers that are on this sheet on this tap plate. So in this case here, I would go, I'm going to use the letters here, and I can go M, E, T, R, I, C. I'm just going to do a few of them here to keep this video somewhat short, and I just dropped my M, or no, my T. So I'm going to go ahead. I got my M, and what I do here, I'm going to press down, and I'm going to carefully go like that. And believe it or not, I've got a nice M in there. If you look real closely, there is an M. So I would spell out metric here, and then I would put 8mm 1.25 above this hole here using the stamps, the letter stamps. I would do all of that. The point, you go ahead and you can use the center punch to do the period. That works really well for that. When you finish that all up, your last step, second to the last step actually, would be to take a file. And we're going to file off all of the edges here, all of the sharp edges. So the thing about a file is if you go like this, you're not going to file anything. What'll happen here is the file will fill up with residue and it won't cut at all. So the thing to remember about a file, it only works in one direction. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go like this. And I'm a professional. I could break out of a jail cell in a matter of minutes if you give me a good file. So I would like you to round off and make this round and nice and no sharp edges on it, nice and rounded. Make it look really good. When you get done, what we'll do is we'll spray it off with brake cleaner, and then you can paint it whatever color you want, because then the letters like the metric, English, all of the labels will pop. They'll look really nice. So thank you very much, and hopefully you got something out of this. Thank you.